Welcome to Let's Talk Layoffs podcast with your host Antonio Fregoso and Andy Dieza. Episodes airing bi-weekly will feature guests who are currently laid off or have been impacted by layoffs in the past. Our goal is to create a safe space for conversations around coping with unexpected job loss and the emotions that come with it.
Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Layoffs. I am Andy Dieza.
And I'm Antonio Fregoso.
And today, our host is the multi-talented Amanda Gordon.
You can also find her as Amanda Mariana on YouTube.
Yes.
But let's give her a little introduction. Amanda is a writer, comedian, and YouTuber based in Brooklyn, New York. She has amassed over 270,000 subscribers on her YouTube channel, where she posts entertaining and informative pop culture video essays. She recently starred in the Sims Not Creative miniseries in partnership with Amazon. Her latest short film, Let Her Eat Cake, was an official selection at the 21st annual Martha's Vineyards African American Film Festival. When she is not writing, she regularly performs stand-up comedy around New York. And now she is our guest. So
let's give it up. That is one hell of a resume.
Yeah.
It really is impressive. But let's take it off the bio. What's not on the page? So tell us a little bit about sort of the abbreviated version of where you're from, where you went to school, up until you made this hugely successful YouTube page, and then we can stop right after you, right before you get to the big corporate job.
I'm from upstate New York, like from the capital region, Albany area.
Okay.
Born and raised there, and then I moved to New York to go to college at NYU. I studied film there, and I graduated in 2022. I've had my YouTube channel since like 2012, since I was like literally in elementary school.
Oh, okay.
So it was always my hobby throughout like middle school, high school, and college too. But when the pandemic hit, that's when I kind of shifted my content to video essays.
Okay.
So most of my subscribers have come from like the past, like since 2020, I would say.
All right.
And onwards. But I had my channel since 2012, and I was always doing it for fun, but I didn't really start making money from it until like 2020.
That's awesome.
And then did that kind of inform or influence what you studied in school?
Oh, yeah, because I always really liked making my YouTube videos, and I liked taking like film classes in high school. So I was like, honestly, the only thing I wanted to major in, that, like, the only school subject that I was like, this is fun, was, like, my film and video classes. So I was like, okay, I'll go be a film major.
That's impressive. 4 years at NYU, and then you land this job.
Yeah.
Is this your first gig?
Yeah, it was, like, my first full-time job, because I interned at TikTok before, when I was in college, and I was really, really happy to, get that internship and work there. It was my first full-time job out of college. And it was, the nice thing about it, being in art school, is like it's not very common to have a job lined up after graduation. So I would say that was like the really nice thing, because like after interning there, they gave like a return offer, which is really nice. So I didn't have to like worry about finding a job in my senior year of college. So I was just like, having fun, making my YouTube videos, and yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that, right? You're from upstate. You get an internship at TikTok. Now everyone knows TikTok is where is the corporate job we will be referring to in this interview. But we will only be referring to it as the corporate job.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to, but I love that you did it on YouTube, so I'm just going to stick with it. So yeah, you get this internship. Internship leads to a full-time gig, and now you're off to the races into the world. Tell us a little bit about that with this really cool, nifty first tech gig.
Yeah, that was like really cool to have, but I feel like already kind of going into working, I was just sort of aware of the fact that I was like, I didn't really want to like make my job my identity. And so like, that's why I didn't really mention it on my YouTube channel, honestly. And I don't know, I was like, also, it was working remote most of the time, so it was like, I don't really have much content to say about this, to be honest. Like, I never really went into the office that much. I feel like I could count on my hands.
It's the world we live in, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was definitely like really nice to be able to have that to go into and not have to like worry about the job search. And it's funny because it's like, honestly, I actually realized like I've never actually applied to a full-time job because I got that job from having an internship there. So I feel like really lucky for that because I know the job search is like not easy. But yeah, it was, I think, like I said, it being remote, and also the internship was remote too. So it just like kind of didn't really feel like a huge life change or anything, to be honest. It was kind of just like, oh, like log onto the computer, like do the same stuff. And I think also because I like had my YouTube channel, it was like, it was kind of just like I would say something that it wasn't like a huge like, I don't know how to explain it.
It wasn't like a shift. It was more of an extension of what you were already.
Yeah, more of an extension, I would say, to like my life because I feel like I already kind of like had a job from that. So yeah.
I love what you just said. Like you felt like your life was already your job. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I was doing YouTube like in 2020. I actually remember. So I had like a period of time in 2020 where I got a lot more subscribers to my channel. And I was kind of because in the COVID era, I was going to college and then COVID hit in like March 2020. And so I got sent home like from college. I had to go back upstate. And at the time I was a college YouTuber before. So I would make a lot of videos like vlogging my experience at NYU because people like really love to see that because it's like such a popular school to go to.
That's interesting. I didn't even know.
But so it's funny. So I was even like the first day I went to college, I was like, actually this is kind of something I joke about. Like I literally chose to go to NYU because of my YouTube channel because I was like, I had always been making YouTube videos. But the funny thing is, there's like this genre of video that was really popular in like 2018. It was like college decision reactions. I don't know if you guys have like seen that because you're not like in that stage of life or like close to it.
Not anymore.
It was like such a thing for like high schoolers and college people to like react to like if they got accepted
with their families behind them.
Exactly. And so I was like, when I was in high school and I had my YouTube channel for years and I was like, oh, this is the video that's gonna like put my channel on the map. I was like, I can't wait to like upload this video. And it actually really did. I uploaded that and I think it ended up getting like 100,000 views or something, which was like so much more than anything I had ever gotten. And people were like asking a lot because like probably the most well-known school I applied to was NYU. So they were like asking a lot, like, oh, how'd you get into NYU? Like, what are your stats? Blah, blah, blah. So I made a lot of videos relating to that and that got more views. So I was kind of like, I need to like go to NYU so I can continue making content for my YouTube. Obviously I wanted to go there. Like I of course wanted to go there. I've always like had wanted to move to New York City, like being from upstate, because it's like, you know, not much going on up there. But it was like kind of a factor of like, damn, I really want to go here. So I ended up going to NYU and making my videos. But something that is also really funny about that is I went into a lot of debt going to NYU because it's an extremely expensive
you wouldn't be
school.
the first one.
Yeah. But it was like, sorry, I don't know if I'm getting too into the...
No. Go ahead. This is great. Okay. Yeah. And that, so the debt you acquired at NYU was helped, I would imagine, offset by your YouTube.
Yeah. So that's kind of what happened. It's kind of funny because like I didn't really think it would happen that way because even then, even though I got more subscribers, it was like I still had like 2,000 subscribers like at the time. Like it wasn't that much. It was still a lot more than what I was ever used to. But so I didn't really plan on that happening, but yeah, it's kind of funny because I did the NYU content and I had gotten like some, you know, small sponsorship opportunities and like some other, I got to like be in like a Target ad, which was cool when I was in college. So I had gotten like some smaller things, but then when the pandemic hit, that's when I shifted my content from like the NYU vlogs because I just wasn't at school and it's just like really boring to like film yourself on Zoom classes. So I sort of shifted into this like pop culture commentary and video essay space in the pandemic. And not really like on purpose to like get views. It was kind of just like a thing where I was like, oh, I want to like talk about these things, but I've like never made these type of YouTube videos, and I kind of like put it out there, and you know, it worked and people really liked it. So I started making those type of videos. And that's what really got me a lot more, you know, subscribers and like brand opportunities on my channel. And so eventually, yeah, I was able, before I graduated, like using the money I made from YouTube to like pay off my debt, which was like a huge relief.
That's awesome.
I mean, that is amazing.
Yeah.
First of all, that story is awesome. I also think it's like an archetype for the today creative.
Yeah, it is. Which takes me to like another question before we go into the hard ones.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you got your first 1,000 views, then your first 50,000, 100,000, and then when you see the follower count coming in? As an example, we just launched this podcast and we've been seeing the numbers and it feels good. But our numbers are obviously still not as great as yours. So we haven't had that joy yet. But how does that feel? And like, because to me, for a content creator, that's something that you feel validated. You feel that the content that you're putting out there is resonating with the people.
Yeah, I feel like it's really exciting. It's so exciting, especially in the beginning stages, to like see that people are enjoying your content and watching it. And I like remember also during the pandemic too, when I shifted to this content, I was also working part-time at a grocery store. I was an essential worker.
Listen, that's real. That's real.
And so it was so fun. I remember I would like be working at I was a cashier, and I would just be like constantly like refreshing my YouTube app on my phone to see like the views and stuff. But it's so exciting at first, and it's really satisfying, really gratifying. I think something I've noticed, at least for myself, is that it's sort of, in a sense, like diminishing returns on happiness the more you get, because it's just like, okay, now you like reached 100 subscribers, 1,000, 10,000, still really exciting, 100,000. But then kind of like after that, it's like, I think it gets to a certain point where it's like the numbers just like, they're just numbers. They don't like actually like make you feel anything. So I think then what is more important is like feeling proud of the content that you're like putting out there.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Couldn't have said that any better.
No, that's awesome.
Okay.
I think we need to start
That
with
lead up was great, and now we got to get over the slope. So you get your first gig. You already have this traction from YouTube. The YouTube is sort of paying for school. In school, you get this internship at TikTok, the corporate job. And then, in May of last year, suddenly and unexpectedly, and you have a great video on your YouTube where you cover your experience. But May of last year, you're laid off.
I got laid off from my tech job, and honestly, I'm not mad about it. Hey guys, it's Amanda, and welcome back to my channel. I'm not sure if any of you watching knew I had a corporate job because I never really talked about it on this channel. So surprise, I was employed for the past 10 months, and now for all intents and purposes, I am not.
What was that like? What were those emotions like? What was that like when the camera was off for you?
Yeah, it was definitely like pretty crazy. It's actually like very, very funny because I very like specifically remember it because I remember I texted one of my friends who is also a YouTuber, but she had worked like for years in like a corporate job in tech. And I was like, oh, you know, like this guy like several levels above me like put a meeting on my calendar at like 10 p.m. And I was like, oh, like, am I getting fired? Like, I was like, what is that? And she's like, no, your manager would fire you. Like, it's not anything. And then the next day it was like, oh shit, like I'm actually laid off. So it was kind of, in that sense, it was funny because I was like, low-key I called it. I mean, laid off and fired is different.
No, they are.
But I was like, oh, low-key I called it. So it was definitely like pretty shocking. It was still like, it was like, in that sense, it was like a little bit like cosmically funny. It was just I love it. It was just like, oh, like of course I saw it coming. But it was like interesting because I was kind of, a little bit like excited by that fact of getting laid off because it was kind of hard to balance like doing my YouTube channel and doing this corporate job. So I think I was actually like a little bit excited in a sense at first. But then the thing that I was actually the most sad about was like, because I had met like, you know, some cool coworkers along the way. And I felt like that was actually the most like sad part, is being like, oh, like these were like some really nice connections that I made with these people. And so, yeah, it was honestly like less about the job and the company, more about like, oh, you know, like these people are really nice. And also like, even after getting laid off, I actually saw a lot of our, you know, former coworkers so much more in those like maybe month or two after getting laid off than ever before. And it was really funny. It was like nice to have that like community and sort of that camaraderie, people like, you know, supporting each other. So I feel like that was the most like, you know, sentimental aspect for me.
I love that, because a lot of people talk about and consider their perspective. But it is true. Like, you make connections, you make really good friends, and some of them have to survive the layoffs and have this survivor's guilt at the corporate job. But still, they're your friends. It was not a breakup. It was not about anything about that. So
it's definitely a thing I've learned that I didn't consider before, is that what you take from a job, right? It's not just, it should be a resume builder, it should be all those things. Hopefully you get a nice severance package, but what you really should take away from that is the relationships, right? Literally, while we're sitting here, it is so much more important. And I feel like I want to say a generation right below us. There's the perception shift is that, like, I'm going to walk away with this skill set, a newfound group of friends and some community of like-minded folks. And that's a win, right? And if I get a nice severance package on top of that,
it's even better.
I walked away in great shape.
I'm going to piggyback on that you were saying. You said, like, part of you felt relief that you didn't have to compete with your YouTube content creation. How do you think this layoff experience, Sandy said, like the experience of meeting people, becoming friends with them, the corporate experience, fuel your creativity on your day-to-day basis? Like, how do you think was Amanda's videos before and Amanda's videos after the layoff?
Yeah, it was really interesting because it was kind of, because of getting laid off, it was kind of, I think, the first time in my life that I was like, oh, this is like what was my sort of hobby and side hustle I could potentially do full time. Because even, you know, before I was always in school, and even in school I always had like other, you know, internships and jobs along with my YouTube channel. So it was never like my full thing. So it's honestly really interesting. I think it's like there's a catch-22 for me, because I think having those other, you know, responsibilities like a job or school, then sometimes it allows your creative thing to just like purely be your creative outlet. But then again, with those things too, it's like kind of tiring and you want to relax. And then you don't always want to actually do the creative outlet. So I feel like it was nice to be able to have like, I think more, you know, energy to dedicate to it, but also sometimes where I was like, oh, now it's like the only thing. And I'm so used to like for it to be like my outlet, not like my like one and only responsibility. So I think it's like an interesting balance that I'm always trying to like, you know, figure out.
It's a little bit more on that is it is often said, you know, in corporate jobs, a salary is sort of what they give you to forget about your dreams. Your approach to this is sort of the reverse from the outset. It was never, I need this job to maintain or sustain my lifestyle. It was, I have a lifestyle that I maintain and sustain, and I want a job. You know what I mean? For maybe whatever your reasons are. But it can be a crutch sometimes.
Yeah.
Was that ever the case for you? Did you feel like that? It's sort of a little bit what you touched on.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think it was like very interesting timing, because I probably, you know, could have graduated and like just went with YouTube full time and like not need to get the job. But I already had it, one, and like two, I still was like, you know, obviously being a content creator, you know, depending on what level you're at and stuff, you're not getting a same amount of pay every single month. So I think I was still like, yeah, maybe I could do it, but like I definitely felt like it was nice to like have that salary. Yeah. That being said, I was an entry level person, so it's like honestly the salary was not that high to be quite honest. So I didn't, because I think I know what you're kind of alluding to, like that experience with like being golden handcuffs. Yeah. But honestly, I didn't have that because the salary was not high enough to have that.
I love that. And that kind of the secondary question to that question is, would you do it the same way? Would you take a job out of school directly, right? Knowing that as employment works, layoffs are sort of a foregone conclusion, right? They come with the territory. Yeah. Would you do it again now that you've had some time and distance from the layoff, a year, almost exactly? Would you do it again?
Yeah, I do think I would. I think it was a good like experience to have, and I think like knowing what that looks like being in that corporate environment was like a good experience to like get that and to, you know, have that on my resume, even if I'm not like doing exactly what I did at that company now. So I think I would, and I think the good thing about like that experience and doing it was like I think I did feel like I kind of felt like I would like to try doing YouTube full time, but I think I, to be honest, would have been like too scared to like quit any job really. No, like I'm just like not good at that like sort of confrontation. So I think that was probably the most like I like to think everything happens for a reason. So that's why I think I wasn't too, you know, beat up over the layoffs, because I was like, honestly, I never would have done it myself, so let's just see what happens, like this outcome, because I wouldn't have made this choice for myself. But I was curious to like see what that would look like.
I love that perspective. I wouldn't have left, so I'm kind of happy you kicked me out. I love that.
That's awesome.
All right, let's get away from the corporate job. I think we've covered it. I think your responses have been just amazing. Yeah. So I watched your short film.
Oh, thank you.
I still have to watch it. It's in the pipeline.
Homework. Which is also on her YouTube. It is amazing. It is entitled Let Her Eat Cake. And I can't help but think that was made in part because you don't have a job. Or you don't have a corporate kind of ball and chain on you. But tell us a little bit about that film, the process of making it, the inspiration behind it.
Yeah, so that actually is different because I made that as my thesis film in college, so it was like I made it in my last year of college. So, but it wasn't completely done. I shot it because they, give you some equipment to like film, like cameras and gear and stuff. And then in the post-production process, I was kind of in the corporate job at the time, like balancing that a little bit. Okay. But yeah, it was a really cool experience to make. I filmed it in April of 2022 and did post-production up until like November of 2022. And then like submitting it to festivals is kind of a process. So I submitted to a lot of festivals, but I think the first one was like, I don't even know. Maybe that was probably in like spring of 2023. Okay. So it's like kind of a long time when you submit. Like it takes like months to get back.
I've made a short film.
Yeah.
I know all about it.
Yeah. But it was a really cool experience. And I think it wasn't like too much of a struggle to balance with the corporate thing, because it would have been definitely a lot harder if it was in the production phase, but post-production, at least it was already filmed. So it was kind of just like working with the editor and like sound designer and composer and stuff. So that was a little bit more chill. I think that would have been really hard to do the production aspect while having a corporate job.
Absolutely.
But yeah, from not having the corporate job, that did allow me, though, to, like, go to some of the festivals that it was screened at, because I was like, well, honestly, I don't really have anywhere to actually be now, so I can, like, fly out and, like, go to these festivals.
It has a fun. But tell us a little bit about the script writing and how that, the kind of the premise of the film, how that came to be.
Yeah, I did gymnastics growing up, and I had a mom. Well, my mom's still alive. My mom was always the type of person to be making comments about like weight and stuff. She wasn't my gymnastics coach like it is in the movie. But I was inspired by that. Okay. And so I kind of like wanted to create that experience because I feel like I hadn't seen it represented a lot, especially like with Black characters. Because I feel like in like that sort of territory of like eating disorders and stuff, like it's like more, I think it's seen as like more a little bit like a white person sort of problem.
I'd second that.
So I really wanted to like represent it from that perspective too. And yeah, I just like felt like the mother sort of vicariously trying to live through her daughter was a good way to make it in a like contained small environment because it is a short film. So
yeah. That's awesome. It is beautiful.
Thank you.
It is amazingly done and executed. The scene where she's walking up the steps and the mom is scolding her, and she says, "You brought me into this world and you'll take me out." I know, and just walks. The amount of times I've heard that line from my mother, and I know so many other people who have heard that line. It was just like, oh, this is good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For everyone watching this, we're going to put the link when we upload the episode so everyone can watch it because, yeah.
Absolutely. It'll be all in the description. So on a personal note, I am just a huge fan of you.
I can attest.
And your content because I think it's important for Black women creatives to have their point of view and perspective kind of dished out via as many mediums as possible, and you do that. And I've watched you do it after a layoff that I was affected by as well, and it shows a bit of a creative resilience that I don't think
a lot of people
just have, right? You know what I mean? And so just so much respect. So with that said, you do, let me see, I don't want to get this wrong. So writing, which is sort of a catch-all, but filmmaking, content creation, dance, stand-up comedy.
Yes.
Let me know if I'm leaving anything out. The question in all of this is, which one of those things are your favorite things to do?
Yeah, I would say, so stand-up is newer. I can talk about this because this is kind of something that I did post the corporate job era. It's actually really funny because, well, I went to school to study like film and TV. And then I think like after, getting laid off and like doing YouTube, which is great, being a content creator, I sort of realized like, I do like interacting with people though. So I was kind of like, man, like what else can I do that is like more like interacting with people? So I kind of just like wanted to like start taking like different classes. And also because I'm interested in like TV writing, like specifically for comedy. So actually, right after getting laid off, I was in an improv class. I did improv. That was fun. And then I also, in the fall, I signed up for like a stand-up class. And I did that, and that was really fun. And so I really enjoyed that. And basically, I just like started going to open mics after that and like doing comedy shows since then. So that's been like a really fun journey. And it's cool because stand-up is writing, but it is something that is like, out of my comfort zone. And that might maybe sound like a little bit surprising to some people because I put myself on the internet
it's very different.
and stuff. But it's different to be in front of a live audience for sure. And I always grew up being like a very like shy kid. Like I would never describe myself as like any sort of class clown. So it's been like a really fun thing to do that is like just completely pretty different from like anything else I've ever done.
How important would you this just came off of what you said, how important would you say it is following a layoff to do something different? Just, how has that been for you? How does that?
Yeah, I think it was just like really fun to like be, because like also, you get a lot of socialization from coworkers. And so it was good to like just like be in an environment where I'm, seeing people every week, like that classroom environment. I felt like that just like was nice to have that element of structure because also, you get that element of structure from having a job. So I think that's also why I was definitely interested in taking like different classes too. to like add more like routine to my life. So, and I think just like trying something new and just like, I don't know, showing yourself that, you know, you might have these stories that you tell yourself that, like, for me personally, like, oh, I'm really shy and I'm really quiet. But being able to do stand-up, it was really cool because it felt like sort of who I always was and who I wanted to be were like finally the same person when I was like able to do that successfully.
I mean, that is a great quote, and I think you, again, that comes out of the freedom of having to make that decision of wanting to do something, right?
Which takes me to a hypothetical question. If this layoff experience had never happened, and let's imagine we're here in May 2024, still working, having that balancing the YouTube channel with corporate job. Do you think you would have done it? Or do you think would you have pursued, I'm going to put myself in the comfort zone? Or do you think this stand-up Amanda was born because of now you have more freedom and you miss certain things that you were saying? And it's like, I want to put myself out of my comfort zone.
No, I don't think I would have done that, honestly, if I still had been working at a corporate job. Yeah, I don't think I would have done that. So I'm really, like, I think it's, like, really cool to be able to have those, like, moments of freedom. Like, you know, that's the nice thing about a layoff. Like, at least if they give you some severance, then you can have a little bit of time to, like, you know, explore other interests and hobbies and just, I don't know, let your mind wander a little bit, and you're not, like, so caught up, you know, in the daily grind. So
that agreed. Freedom is a luxury, but with that you can kind of mold and shape what happens next.
Yeah, but it's also like a good way to rephrase that mentality, because a lot of people, get have not a positive outcome, a positive mentality out of that. But hearing this, and hopefully your words changed this for a lot of people, that they can realize, I can put myself out of my comfort zone and find something that I love, or start doing something I love. Now I have that freedom. Like, it is not I've been laid off. I have freedom now to do other things, which hopefully they can afford.
I mean, I think that's really important, right? I didn't get laid off. I'm free. It's just, it's a lot. Tell yourself what you need to, but I think that shift, turning that corner, is important.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you currently have a corporate job?
I do not. No.
And just why? I'm just curious.
After getting laid off, I was kind of like, I totally did not feel in a rush to, like, find another job, of course, because I had, like, my income from YouTube. So I was just like, I think, like, I was, like, scrolling through LinkedIn a little bit, but I wasn't really, like, I just, like, didn't feel any sort of pressure to. Right. I was like, I just don't really need to. But there have definitely been times, like, throughout this, you know, I think it's been about a year now since getting laid off, where I'm like, I do, like, you know, get on the job boards and search. And it's kind of out of, like, two things. One, wanting, like, structure in my life, because that's, like, the harder thing about, like, being a content creator for yourself, like, not even, you know, being a freelancer, because you are, like, working for other people and they give you external deadlines. Like, you have to be, like, very, like, self-motivating to do everything. So I think, like, I've wanted some structure at some points. And then also, too, because, like, in terms of money, like, you don't always know, like, how much you're gonna, like, get paid. It's like, I don't know, it could be a really good month, it could be, like, not great. So I think, like, the stability is definitely nice, but it hasn't been at a point where I'm like, I really need to. So I think it's just been, for those are, like, probably the two main reasons why I've, like, thought about it, but I just, like, haven't been to a point where I'm like, okay, I absolutely need to, like, get back in the corporate sphere.
That's a great answer.
One thing that we'd like to ask is, for advice, because as we say, like people experience it differently and everything. We are a little jaded in that sense, but for you, it was your first job out of school, so a lot of people are not prepared for that. Even when you've been seasoned and you've had a couple, you're never prepared for that. So if you had one piece of advice of someone experiencing a layoff for the first time in their life, whether they're out of school or they have been years in the workforce and this is the first one, what would be the single piece of advice that you would say, do this?
I would say, like, don't take it personally, because at the end of the day, it's inherently unpersonal. Like, you're not getting fired. They're just, cutting a certain percent of the workforce. So I just feel like definitely don't take it personally. And I think just, like, know that your identity doesn't have to be attached to, like, a certain, like, because it is, cool when you work at a cool company. But I think it's just, like, just know that there's so many other things about yourself that doesn't have to be, like, the main, thing about you.
That's yes, 100%.
And I have another one that it's a little bit personal. How do you get comfortable behind the camera? I'm still not.
I think it's just, like, honestly, like, from, like, doing it for, like, years, like, a really long time, I feel like I'm more comfortable in front of a camera. Well, a camera that I'm, like, controlling than most people, probably just because I've been doing it for such a long time. But I think I would just think of it as, like, you're literally having a conversation with yourself. I think it's, like, I don't even think of it as, like, talking to a friend. I'm just like, this is just for me.
I love that. That's not even like a friend. This is I'm talking about.
We need to invite her a year after to see if we're making any
progress,
yes.
right? Yeah.
But I have another one that goes more into your creative. You being a multifaceted creative, like you do everything. Andy said, like writing, filmmaking, content creation, dance, stand-up comedy, and hopefully in a year we add like 5 more. No, but there's a lot of people that have these passions or have this interest of trying one of these. Like, I have an idea for a short film and I want to do it. I have an idea for a story that I want to write. I have an idea for becoming a content creator, like just grabbing my phone and the camera, or even trying a stand-up comedy. So what would be like top 5 tips that you would say for someone to pursue this creative passion? Because a lot of people don't feel that they're creative. They have the ideas, but they don't feel they're creative. I've heard it a lot, and I always tell them everyone is creative. You just need to try it.
Create something,
basically. So what would be your like top 3, top 5 tips for someone to like jump on this creative bandwagon?
I would say like probably 1, just like realizing you don't really have anything to lose by trying it. And then also 2, you can like really start small. I think people will maybe like build up things to be like they're going from like 0 to 100, and just remember that like baby steps are important. So it's like, if I don't know, making a short film seems really intimidating, then like, but it's like you didn't even like try to write the script yet. But you're like, oh, but where am I going to get a camera and actors? But like, you don't even have the script. So like, I think just like thinking in terms of like actual like small steps instead of like jumping to like what is the end result going to be is like really helpful, and something that I always have to remind myself of. Even with like making a YouTube video, sometimes I am like, oh my God, this is going to like take so much time. And I'm like, I haven't even like started on like the premise, the idea. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, like I've done this before, I can do it again. Yes. Like, but yeah, just like breaking it down into small steps. And then probably for like a 3rd tip, I would say like, honestly, like you are probably judging yourself. Like you're probably like being the one who's like, you're thinking of like, oh, what are other people going to think of me? But it's like, in reality, you're probably the one who's thinking, right, what am I going to think of me? And I think instead of like judging yourself, I think you have to remember that like action is just like the best thing to do instead of like overthinking it, and just like, I don't know, putting it into action and seeing where it goes.
There you go. Don't fall victim to analysis paralysis, right?
Yep.
We are turning the corner. We're almost at our end here. And I mean, this has just been amazing. My final question, our final question, I think is a simple one. For so many people that are going through layoffs, first layoffs, last layoff, whatever, in between, the notion of happiness seems impossible. Far away, impossible, out of reach. A year since you've been laid off, you've done so much since that point. You've done so much before that, but since that point, you've done so much to now. I think it'll be a year this week. So I'm asking you, are you professionally and creatively fulfilled? Are you happy?
I would say I am happy, and every day I do feel really, really lucky that I, and just even like with the days I feel like unmotivated and like, I don't know, like unsure of myself, I do have to remind myself of like how lucky I am at the end of the day to like, be able to like live in this great city, and be able to like have content creation as my full-time job. So I would say I'm happy. I think professionally, I want to like get back more into like what I studied, which is like film and TV. So I really want to like be like screenwriting, and I would love to get paid to do that. I would say that's one of my professional goals for the future. And just like continue to perform, because that's also been really fun too.
And you're really good at it.
Yeah.
Well, that's it from us. This has been amazing.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being our guest, for inspiring
us again. For viewers, all of her information will be in the description. Definitely go check it out and support everything she has going. It'll only be a matter of time before she is a paid screenwriter. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time on Let's Talk Layoffs. Peace out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Join me on a search for my creative spark.
Hey, welcome to my studio.
We'll get out of our comfort zones and try new things with new friends.
Anything that captivates you and inspires you is the best place to start.
So cool.
Isn't that cute? Do you want to try?
Yeah. Challenge accepted.
There you go.
To rediscover inspiration in-game and out. Not Creative, a new series from The Sims.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Let's Talk Layoffs podcast. Please leave us a rating and review on whichever podcast provider you're listening from, so we can continue to provide a platform for those impacted by layoffs. For more information and resources, please visit www.letstalklayoffs.com.